Good morning, Carter, and again, Minister, thank you very much for being here in person to discuss this matter with me. It's greatly appreciated. I rise to speak on behalf of 4 children, 4 boys from Dublin's north side, whose parents are in a position of not having a school place for them in September, and the only reason being that these children have autism. I want to refer you to the report launched today from asiam.ie, the Invisible Children report, a survey on school absence and withdrawal in Ireland's autism community. I believe some of the representatives from the organisation are here in the gallery as it happens, and some of their findings are quite stark, and some of the representations made today were quite upsetting. It's a survey, around 300 parents were involved. 35% said that they had applied to anywhere between 4 and 7 different schools while seeking a place for their child. And 54% of these parents felt that a lack of school places was the biggest barrier for their child in accessing education, supported by a further 18% saying that their chief obstacle was a lack of nearby schools or classes in the local catchment areas. Effectively, Minister, what happens when your child gets a diagnosis, you're handed a sheet of paper with a list of schools on it and told to do your best. Some of those schools that I was speaking to the parents about were in as far away places as Drogheda. So I just want to read into the record of the House the 4 children that I'm dealing with currently: Oliver Lynham, Mason Kelly, James Field, whose mother Alison spoke at the launch today, Riley O'Keefe. They have no place to go in September. The only reason being is that they have autism. I think the manner in which we deal with these parents, Minister, really needs to be investigated and improved, because to give a list of schools to a parent and told to do your best, and some schools would say yes. Most schools, unfortunately, at this case, are saying no. Now, I know we have a new Admissions to School Act, which would challenge some of the attitudes that the schools are having, or some of the responses that the schools are giving. And I want to get your response to that. Secondly, there's another issue, which is that the fallback position, which the parents don't want. They want their children to go to a school setting and to mix with other children and to have that engagement, is the home school potential for children. But again, you're told to go off and find a homeschool tutor yourself. You know, none of us are qualified, unless we're professionals in the field, to know what kind of home tutor would benefit our child or not. And again, I'm talking to other parents who are on a long waiting list to get assessment, a huge long waiting list. I spoke to another parent today, Mark, about his daughter Abigail, and their situation of trying to get early intervention, and they've waited effectively 2.5 years to get early intervention for their children. So the situation is, Minister, and I know you know this, is that once you get a diagnosis, it's as if you have to start waging a war with a system that should actually be caring for you and be compassionate for you in your situation. You have this challenge with this diagnosis and this child that you love and care for and want to do your absolute best for, and simultaneously you automatically become some kind of a political campaigner, which shouldn't be the way it should be. So, Minister, just on behalf of those 4 children that I outlined to you there, can you give me some assurance, and the parents some assurance, that they will have a school place in September? But wider than that, I think politically we need to have a long-term conversation about how we deal with parents in this situation. It probably falls between your own department and the Department of Health, and that is probably part of the difficulty. But certainly it's really come to light in the last number of months for me, the shocking experience that these parents are going through, and the fact that they're looking now, it's April, it's not too long away, it's going to be May, and September, these 4 children I've outlined you have no school place, and I'm sure there are hundreds of other parents in the same situation, as has been outlined by the report issued today, and as has been reported in the Irish Times as recently as yesterday. So, Minister, I'd appreciate your response.
Minister.
Buíosagóil chuig an Seanad ar fáinne ceist seo, ceist inta tábhachta agus ceist inta de riire fásta agus tam oscailte maidir leis an córa tádaí ina dhéan an córáis agus ina dhéan díosbrocht inniu. I would like to thank the Senator for raising this important matter, and I do value the Senator's observation that we need to look at the whole process and look at different ways and look at ways that we can help in the process as well. So I'm very much open to that idea. Enabling children with special educational needs, including autism, to receive an education appropriate to their needs is a priority for the Government. At present, we are investing heavily in supporting our children with special educational needs, with €1.8 billion being spent annually, which is averaging out to about €1 in every €5 of the education budget, or 19% of the overall budget. This includes an allocation of over €300 million towards providing additional resources specifically to support autistic students in schools. Since 2011, the number of special classes has increased from 548 in 2011 to 1,459 across the country now, of which almost 1,200 are autism special classes. The National Council for Special Education, NCSE, an independent agency of my department, is responsible for planning, coordinating and advising on education provision for children with special educational needs. The Council ensures that schools in an area can, between them, cater for all children who have been identified as needing special class placements. Individual school boards of management are responsible for the establishment of special classes. It is open to any school to make application to the NCSE to establish a class. When the NCSE sanction the establishment of a special class or the expansion of special school provision in a school, the school can apply to my department for capital funding to reconfigure existing spaces within the school building to accommodate the class and/or to construct additional accommodation. Where families are experiencing difficulty in securing a placement for their child, it is recommended that they work closely with the NCSE's teams of locally based special education needs organisers who will assist and advise them. CNOs also support and advise schools. My department has no role in seeking a suitable school placement for individual children. Accordingly, I have arranged for the details of the 4 children provided by the Senator to be forwarded to the NCSE for its urgent attention. The NCSE is aware of the recent demand for additional special class and special school placements in the Dublin area. The Council is actively engaging with schools, school patrons, parents, NEPs, health professionals and others who are involved in the provision of services for children with special educational needs to ensure that each child has a school placement appropriate to their needs for the 1920 school year. This work is ongoing. We are aware that enrolments in some schools have not yet been finalised for next year. We expect a clearer picture to emerge in the coming weeks. If additional places are required, the NCSE will work with schools and other stakeholders to ensure this need is met, and my department is liaising closely with the NCSE in this regard. And can just reiterate again, this is a process. It can be a very, very difficult process for parents who have gone through preschool with their child and ready to go to that next step. And like all parents, you like to see a smooth transition from whether it's preschool to primary or primary to secondary. And I believe that through working together and the good work of the likes of the As I Am group, who I met in the early days of my new post, where there's things that government misses, there's things that officialdom misses, and if there's gaps there, I'm certainly willing to work with the Senator in that regard, because this is we're living in a very special time where we're trying to include all our children, and whether that is in special classes or in special schools, or whether that is in the mainstream setting, that choice is so important. So it's important that we continue to work hard and focus on that.
Minister, I deeply appreciate your sentiments, and now there are a number of issues I do have with your official response. One being, that the school can apply to the department. What happens if the school isn't necessarily minded to apply? It's easier for them sometimes to say no. Again, my department has no role in seeking a suitable school placement for the individual children. That is going to be of little comfort to the parents that I'm dealing with. Again, you can see here the difficulty. The council is actively engaged with schools, school patrons, parents, NEPs, health professionals. There's so many different agencies who are all involved, and the parents are going from one to the other in order to try and get a place for their child. But I do appreciate the sentiment that you've given in relation that you do acknowledge that there are gaps, and that isn't good enough, and that we can working together, we can find solutions. And I do appreciate that it says here in your official reply that a clearer picture will emerge in the coming weeks. So look, on that basis, that's fair enough. If we can discuss this again in a number of weeks' time, we will have a clearer picture of where these 4 children are at, what the NCSE has come up up with. But certainly, I think the entirety of the system needs to change and be an awful lot more sympathetic, and to rally around these parents when a diagnosis happens. But on that basis, Minister, let's keep in contact. Let's keep the conversation going. But certainly, what these parents are going through isn't good enough. I think you appreciate that. I think you're acknowledging that. You're acknowledging that there are gaps. So let's collectively work together to fill those gaps and to ensure that the rights of these children that I've named, Oliver, Mason, James and Riley, are vindicated, and that they have a school place in September.
Yeah, Cormac, Seanad, and certainly, if one of the things that I'm trying to evaluate is when a CINO gives a list of potential schools, sometimes simple communication around if some of these schools are already filled up, that creates massive frustration on the part of the parents. So if we can get a wee bit better around even simple communication, having the relevant information, because it's a very, very important time for a parent, for their child to be going into a new school environment, and to have to be put in that position where they feel they have to fight for things. That's something that I'm happy to work and to continue to work with you on.